Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast. We cover everything Major League, from spring training to the World Series. We've got your favorite club covered, from New York to Boston to LA. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast.
Welcome into another edition of the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Kevin Mahalik. Happy March Madness, everybody out there. Hopefully you had a fantastic St. Patrick's Day this past week, stayed safe, enjoyed some green beer, maybe some Guinness, had some fun watching college hoops as the craziness and the madness of March continues to show up year in and year out with this tournament. I mean, opening weekend, opening round, 0 perfect brackets remain. I know you probably filled out a bracket out there somewhere along the lines, and man, nobody is perfect yet. After Illinois lost, that was in the second round, but still, number 1 seed going down before the Sweet 16, crazy. Then you had 2 seed Ohio State losing in the first round. You got 2 seed Houston on the ropes here against Rutgers. As of time of recording here Sunday night, 3 seeds Texas go down, 3 seed West Virginia, and man, the upsets just continue. A couple of double-digit seeds into the Sweet 16. Just fantastic stuff across the board here for NCAA basketball. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that this weekend, had some fun. The weather's starting to turn to springtime here. It's starting to tease us up in the Northeast, get into the 60s, allow us to get outside and enjoy that beautiful weather here. But this is the Baseball Podcast, and we got a fantastic show for you guys here today. We got a lot to talk about. I'm going to let you guys know opening day starters, who has been announced, what we're looking at here moving forward. Then we're going to get into the latest in roster decisions. What do we have in regards to the position battles as we get about 10 days away from opening day? And then I'm going to talk to you guys about the minor league rankings. Who's got the best minor league system here heading into 2021 when we should, again, get a minor league year that we haven't, that we missed in 2020. So jumping right into it here, first segment, talking about opening day starters that have been announced. Well, not every team has announced ultimately who's going to open up the season for them, but the majority out there have let us know, as well as some of them are pretty obvious when it comes to who the candidates are, even if they haven't announced anything yet. So going around the league here, starting out in the American League East, the Tampa Bay Rays, they're going to go with Tyler Glasnow. It'll be his first opening day start. Blake Snell, Charlie Morton, no longer part of the organization. So the obvious choice for them was to head the ball to Tyler Glasnow, who hard-throwing righty, excellent stuff. It'll be fun to get watch him have his first opening day appearance. Next, we got the Boston Red Sox. They're going to go with Eduardo Rodriguez. He was supposed to start in 2020, but then ultimately couldn't make that opening day start, so this will be his first due to coronavirus and myocarditis, I believe is how you pronounce it, what was happening there. So they're going to go with Rodriguez in Boston to open up the year. The Baltimore Orioles are going to go with John Means. It'll be his first career opening day start. The Orioles haven't had the same opening day starter in back-to-back years since 2017, back when Chris Tillman did it 2014 through 2016, a number of years here. So they're going to roll out a new guy, Jonathan Means, to start the year for Baltimore. The New York Yankees, Garrett Cole. It'll be his third opening day start. He started last year for the Yankees as well. He's going to go back-to-back. And if you remember last year, it was the rain-shortened opening day, delayed opening day against the Nationals. Him and Scherzer going at it. It was supposed to be a lot of fun. And then ultimately, it was 5 innings, so it was a complete game after the rains came there in Washington. But his goal will be to get a 10-strikeout outing because no Yankee pitcher ever has actually had 10 strikeouts when it comes to the opening day. It'll be fascinating to see if he can go deep enough in the game, 6-7 innings, to get to that 10 strikeout mark. Next, we got the American League Central, the Cleveland Indians, Shane Bieber. It'll be his second opening day appearance. He was last year's opening day starter as well. Of course, last year's Cy Young winner, so not a surprise there for the Indians. He went 6 scoreless last year with 14 strikeouts. So he'll look to match last year's appearance this year again for the Indians. The Kansas City Royals are going with Brad Keller to tab as their opening day starter. It's his second career appearance. Danny Duffy got the nod in 2020, but this time they will turn to Keller, who started in 2019 for the Royals there as well. So Keller going every other year when it comes to opening day appearances for the Royals. The Minnesota Twins are going to hand the ball to Kenta Maeda. They did not go with Jose Barrios. He got the ball last year and each of the past 2 seasons for the Twins, but it's going to be Maeda who's going first overall here in 2021. Maeda had a fantastic year last year for the Twins after coming over from the Dodgers. 6-1, 2.7 ERA. He finished second in the American League Cy Young Award voting, so he certainly deserves it here to go out opening day for Minnesota. The Chicago White Sox, Lucas Giolito. That one was pretty obvious. He's going to be the first White Sox pitcher to go back-to-back since Chris Sale did it in 2013 and 2014. Giolito got hit around last year on opening day, so he'll look to improve on his first career outing and should have a little bit of less nerves when it comes to this time around. Now going to the American League West, the LA Angels, Dylan Bundy. It'll be his second career opening day start, his first with the Angels. He started opening day for the Orioles back in 2018, and he'll take the ball for the Angels this year. Zach Grinky gets the nod for the Houston Astros. It's his 5th opening day start, but his first for Houston. He started the Royals opener all the way back in 2010, and then 3 times for the Diamondbacks, 2016, 17, and 2019. So his teams have gone 1-3 in his 4 opening day starts for his career, so he'll look to get out on the right foot and get that start, that positive start, and get the W for Houston. The Seattle Mariners, they're going with Marco Gonzalez. It's his 3rd opening day start and 3rd consecutive start for the Mariners. This comes on the heels of Felix Hernandez going 10 straight years from 09 through 18. And now Gonzalez comes in at 19, 20, and now 21 for his 3rd opening day start. So some stability out there for Seattle. The Texas Rangers, Kyle Gibson, they'll go with Gibby, who will now make his 1st opening day start. The last time the Rangers had back-to-back guys go opening day years in advance was, Lance Lynn, who started 2020 for them last year after a couple coming over in the trade there. The NL East, the Marlins, Sandy Alcantara. It's his 2nd opening day nod. It'll be his 2nd straight opening day start. He's only 25 years old. They'll be facing the Tampa Bay Rays. He had a nice outing last year against the Phillies opening day, so he'll look to continue that success. The Mets, of course, Jacob deGrom, his 3rd straight opening day start. 2nd longest streak in franchise history, or 3rd longest streak here. Tom Seaver and Dwight Gooden had stretches that were longer than 3 straight, so Jacob deGrom should certainly continue that moving forward and climb up the ranks there of those Seaver's 10 straight and Gooden's 4 straight for the Mets. The Nationals are going to go with Max Scherzer. 4 straight for Scherzer, and 6 times in 7 years that he'll get the ball opening day. 3-time Cy Young Award winner, so certainly no surprise when it comes to him getting the nod there in Washington. The NL Central, we got the Milwaukee Brewers going to Brandon Woodruff. It's his 2nd opening start and 2nd straight opening day start. He held the Cubs to 2 runs over 5 innings last year. During his first start of the season. The Cardinals are going to go with Jack Flaherty. His 2nd straight opening day start. He'll be the 5th Cardinals pitcher since 1900 to have multiple opening day starts before turning 26. So he's in good company there if he can continue his success moving forward. And then the Cincinnati Reds are going with Luis Castillo. It'll be his 2nd career opening day start. He started in 2019. Last year they went with Sonny Gray, but this year going back to Castillo due to the injury with Sonny Gray not being available. Out in the NL West, the LA Dodgers, Clayton Kershaw. It'll be his 9th opening day start this year. Last year they opened with Dustin May dealing with some injuries and people working their way back. So Clayton Kershaw will get his 9th opening day career starts. And those are all the guys who have been announced. Not yet announced. We got the Blue Jays Hunrin Ryu went last year. In the Central, you got the Tigers. They went with Matthew Boyd. A year ago, out in the West, you have the Athletics. Frankie Montas started for them. In the National League East, the Braves and Phillies have yet to announce their starters. Mike Soraka and Aaron Nola went for them in 2020. And in the Central, you got the Cubs and the Pirates. The Pirates, Joe Musgrove not around, and Kyle Hendricks for the Cubbies went a year ago. And then in the NL West, the Dodgers were the only team to announce, as the Diamondbacks, Giants, Padres, and Rockies are yet to let you know who's going to start it. Madison Bumgarner certainly looks to be the guy in Arizona. Johnny Cueto in San Francisco. For the Padres, who knows? Yu Darvish most likely to get the nod. And then for the Rockies, Jermaine Marquis certainly seems to be the leader in the clubhouse there when it comes to being the first guy out. So a lot of guys there, a lot of stability when it comes to opening day starters. A few guys getting their first opportunity, but certainly seems to be some stabilization, of course, with the big names getting the nod opening day. So let's talk now about some injury updates. What's going on across Major League Baseball? The Philadelphia Phillies, they've been hit with the injury bug. JT Realmuto, Zach Eflin, Spencer Howard, Vince Velasquez, all dealing with some issues. Eflin and Howard both have had back issues, back tightness, back spasms, whatever you want to call it. Vince Velasquez dealing with an oblique issue. And then, of course, JT Realmuto coming off that broken finger, looks to get back in the lineup here in the next couple of days. But he was a late scratch on Sunday, as he was supposed to make his debut, but ultimately was unable to get back into the lineup. For the Diamondbacks, Tyler Clifford, he has a capsule strain in his right shoulder. He'll be shut down for 6 weeks. He was upset because he's never been on the injured list in his career, and now he has a quite serious injury. So a month and a half shutting him down, and then it's going to take a couple of weeks, obviously, to work up that stamina. So a 2-month injury here for Clifford puts him out through the month of May, and he'll look to get back in the lineup there in June as soon as possible. For the Tampa Bay Rays, they got G-Man Choi and Brent Honeywell dealing with some issues. G-Man Choi, he's ready to resume baseball activities this week. They're not going to rush him back. He's had some right knee inflammation that he's been dealing with. And then Brent Honeywell, he's looking to get on the team here for the first time in a couple of years. He's going to take the mound coming up in the next couple of days. He underwent 4 elbow surgeries in the past 3 years since his last competitive game action. So it'll be fascinating to see him get back out there and see if he's able to have success. Next up, we got Adam Engel for the White Sox. He came out of Saturday's game in the 8th inning due to a strained right hamstring. This one looked a little bit serious. I mean, he fell to the ground, stayed down for a little bit. And, again, those hamstrings early on can be a 1-2 month injury here as we're getting close to the regular season. The Cardinals, Kwang Hyun Kim and Mike McCollis, they're both dealing with some issues. Kim, he's got some back stiffness. He's going to throw some bullpen sessions here in the next couple of days. And then McCollis, dealing with a shoulder issue, started playing some catch, and they're hoping to have him back sooner than later here moving forward. The Nationals, Victor Robles, Steven Strasburg, and Will Harris, all dealing with different issues. Robles was taken out Friday due to a little back tightness, so they're having him kind of take it easy here as they're moving forward. Steven Strasburg threw a 5-inning simulated game. He's had some left calf discomfort that caused him to leave a start a little bit ago, so he's trying to work his way back from a lower body injury. And then Harris felt something in his right arm, and he was diagnosed with a small blood clot in his right arm. So he's working that. He got an MRI, found a little blood clot, and they're going to kind of try to figure out what the best course of action is here to get him back out there moving forward. The Rockies, Tyler Kinley and Brendan Rodgers. Kinley's dealing with a left oblique soreness. Doesn't look like he's going to be ready for opening day. And then Rodgers injured his hamstring while trying to steal second base. So Rodgers, the number 3 overall pick back in 2015, his career continues to be plagued with injuries, even though he's got a ton of upside to him. Mike Soraka for the Braves. He's coming back from a torn Achilles tendon. He threw a simulated game this past weekend. He also had to cover first base, a little PFP's pitcher's fielding practice, and it looks like they're working his way back, but he's not going to be quite ready for opening day moving forward as well. And then some news and notes here to wrap up segment number 1. The Kansas City Royals, they signed Salvador Perez to a 4-year contract extension. This was a club record for the amount of money committed to one individual. 4 years, $82 million with the club. That is more than the previous high of $72 million for left fielder Alex Gordon. So his average annual value for Perez will be 20.5. Yeah, the way the contract breaks down, it's going to be $18 million, $20 million, $20 million, and then $22 million in 2025 with a club option at $13.5 for 2026 or a $2 million buyout if they want to move on from Salvador at that place. So Hunter Dozier recently signs a 4-year extension. Now Salvador Perez signs an extension. Kansas City's taking care of their individuals. They're homegrown, looking to have them help them transition into that next competitive window, as they were recently World Series contenders a few years back, now going through some tough times, and they're trying to work their way back to kind of being at the top of that AL Central and competing with the Twins and White Sox there. So shout out Salvador Perez, $82 million richer here as of Monday, as of this weekend. There's a report out there that the Mets and Francisco Lindor negotiations are going to start ramping up, and they're right around $300 million. The Mets are willing to go to $300 million to lock up Francisco, but he has been looking to ask for more than $300 million, so it'll be unclear kind of how he responds and ultimately what that magic number is. 10 years, $300 million would certainly look to be the baseline of what he's worth, due to Tatis Jr. getting $340 million over 14 years. So it'll be interesting to see if they go that term and length for Lindor, or if it's more just kind of that total number that he's interested in moving forward here. But that'll wrap it up for the first segment of the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. We'll step aside here now for a word from one of our sponsors and one of our sister shows, but when we come back, I'm going to get into each team's biggest decision they have remaining, roster decisions, who's going to win some position battles. I'll keep you guys up to date on the latest going on out there with every organization. So I'm your host, Kevin Mahalik. We'll be right back after this.
This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Welcome back to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Kevin Mahalik. Appreciate you guys listening in. If you haven't checked us out on social media, please do yourself a favor. Head over to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Type in GSMC Baseball, and you'll find our pages out there where we keep you guys up to date with the latest on everything going on here. As we're going to get into here in these next couple of segments, a lot of teams out there deciding on who to finalize their roster with. There's a couple position battles really with every team. Not everybody's loaded from top to bottom, but of course some people have more pressing needs to figure out than others. And if you're going to want to stay up to date with the latest information when it becomes available, give us a like, give us a follow on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of that good stuff here, as you guys know the deal on social media here in 2021. But Rutgers hanging on here against Houston late on Sunday night. Oral Roberts trying to give Florida a run for their money. And then, of course, we got Villanova, North Texas just getting underway. So hopefully you guys enjoyed watching some hoops this weekend. It's going to continue here on Monday. The second round will finalize as you guys are listening to this on Monday evening or whenever you're listening to it. But I appreciate you guys checking us out here. Share us with your friends to continue to help us grow. I certainly appreciate it. But now let's jump into the American League. All right, what's going on out in the AL? Who's going to win these last position battles? We got people on the roster bubble. Should they send guys to the minor leagues? Are they ready to be called up? Where do we stand, and which team, what's their biggest decision remaining for each organization here? So I wanted to start in the American League, and then we'll jump over to the National League for segment number 3 moving forward. But starting out in the American League East with the Toronto Blue Jays, the Florida Blue Jays, Buffalo Blue Jays, whatever they are here, wherever they're playing as 2021 carries on. But the Blue Jays, they're dealing with backup catcher Alejandro Kirk. Broke through late in 2020, which kind of immediately accelerated his timeline. He's 22 years old. The guy hadn't played above Class A Advanced or High A prior to his major league promotion last year. Of course, with no minor league system last year, guys got an opportunity to play at the big league level just because they wanted guys to get some work. They wanted them to see live pitching, stay in games, stay sharp here. But did he do enough to stick around? Did he break through and make the team here based on what he did? So, it's been 2 full off seasons, since he's really played an extended year or a full season. So does Toronto want to put him back down to that AAA mark, get him at bats day in and day out to continue his development, or do they look to bring him up? Because Danny Jansen is certainly their regular there, but Kirk is battling Reese McGuire in regards to being the backup. So Kirk, he's been hitting well in camp here early on. He certainly is making his opinion known that he wants to be on the big league club, and of course, who wouldn't? But again, it just comes down to a matter of if day in and day out at-bats are going to be more valuable to his development, or if they're looking to play him once every 3 days, once every 4 days, and that'll be enough to not kind of damper his long-term career in regards to getting all the time that he needs. So Toronto, they're pretty much set across the board, and they're looking at backup catcher as their biggest need. So certainly a good time to be a Blue Jays fan here entering the season for 2021. The Baltimore Orioles, what's going on in Baltimore? They're looking to find their third baseman. So who's it going to be, right? Rio Ruiz hit .229, 21 homers in his career in 2019 as the O's third baseman, but they recently signed Maikel Franco to a 1-year deal. And now the Orioles got a couple of third basemen. Well, which way are they going to go? Franco, he was a long-time Philadelphia Philly. Of course, he was extremely frustrating during his time here in Philadelphia because he just gets extremely pull happy when it comes to his offensive approach. And if the guy just utilized the entire field, went to right center or used center field, realized that he has power to be able to launch balls out to center and not just try to pull everything, this guy could have been an excellent third baseman. But it just became frustrating after 3, 4, 5 years there in Philadelphia. Ultimately, they decided to move on when Alec Bohm showed that he was going to be ready in the near future. Franco spent last year in Kansas City, had a solid offensive season once again, and now finds himself with Baltimore. So are they going to go with the left-handed hitting Ruiz and kind of platoon with the right-handed hitting Franco? Or are they going to kind of battle for at-bats into the regular season? Or is Franco going to come in and kind of take over and win that starting job at third base for Baltimore? So, again, the Orioles clearly in a rebuild phase. Franco trying to show an organization that he can be a long-term answer when it comes to third base. He's got all the tools, fantastic arm, pretty good, solid defense. But, again, offensively, if he can just utilize the entire field and start to go to right center day in and day out, this guy could be really scary when it comes to opportunities. For Tampa Bay, they're looking at their bullpen. They don't have really any big roster decisions. It's just a matter of, who's going to be in what role when it comes to putting their bullpen together, right? They have high leverage options. They're good and solid at that level. Their rotation is set more or less, so it comes down to the bullpen and some of these young guys who are going to be able to make the team. It looks like some of these decisions may start to be answered here and have been answered in the last couple of days because Shane McClanahan and Luis Patino were optioned to their minor league camp this past week. So again, that kind of rounded out ultimately who's going to be out there in their bullpen and kind of which position are they going to fill? Who's the 7th inning guy? Who's the closer? 8th inning guy? Do they have a lefty-lefty specialist? And kind of stabilizing each role for the guys out in the bullpen is really what they're looking for down there in Tampa Bay. Next up, we got the Red Sox. They're looking at that final bench spot. Who's going to be the last guy off the bench? They added Frankie Cordero, an outfielder who missed some time due to COVID-19 early here in the spring, so he's looking to make up for lost time, potentially coming off the bench for the Red Sox. He's got a long history of injuries, so they may want to take it easy with Cordero and potentially start him off in the minor leagues. So if not him, they're looking at Michael Chavez. He's the number one prospect, or was the number one prospect back in 2019. Are they going to bring him up to come off the bench, or again, should they send him down to get full-time at-bats, potentially at a minor league level? It's either Chavez or Christian Arroyo, who's a former top prospect for the Giants. Arroyo is out of options, so if they send him down to the minor leagues, another team could come in, scoop him up, pick him up, and ultimately Chavez does have an option, so politics could play a role into this, right? This is where I got into options. What do they mean? Well, you can send Chavez to the minor leagues and keep Arroyo, even if Chavez is better, just because it'll allow you to keep both guys in the organization. Because if you think somebody's going to snatch up Arroyo when you send him down, teams are certainly not very inclined to do that here moving forward. We got the New York Yankees. Who's going to be the fifth starter? I mean, the first four pretty well set. Garrett Cole, Corey Kluber, Talion, Jordan Montgomery. Those are the four. But who's the fifth guy? Right now it does seem to be that the leader would be Domingo Germain. He's had 13 strikeouts and only one walk so far this spring. He has yet to allow a run in 9 innings, but he hasn't pitched in a major league game since 2019. He had a violation against the league's policy of domestic abuse, so he seems to, again, not have a lot of the fans behind him and kind of what's going on there, of course. I'll let you guys decide where you stand when it comes to morality and ultimately judging that way. But on the field, the guy's shown he certainly deserves to be that number 5 guy. You also have Deivi Garcia, who's the club's number 3 prospect, and right-hander Michael King, both vying for that number 5 spot here. So I think it comes down to Germain or Garcia. Obviously, like I said, 9 scoreless innings with 13 strikeouts for Germain. What more can you do to show guys you deserve to have that final roster spot in the rotation? All right, now to the AL Central. The Cleveland Indians, first base. Who's playing first base for them? They moved on from Carlos Santana, so they got a couple of weeks yet to kind of figure it out. Nobody's really, grabbed the bull by the horn, so to speak. It sounds like they're going to give Bobby Bradley an opportunity. He's the team's number 20 overall prospect. They're going to see what he can do with consistent playing time. They also have Jake Bauers, who's out of minor league options, who could potentially be an option there at first base. But Bradley has that power bat, man, that they're looking to unwind there in Cleveland. But again, politics and options could come into play here if you're Cleveland. Kansas City Royals, what's going on? Bobby Witt Jr., they sent him down to the minor leagues. He was the number 7th ranked prospect overall. He had impressed this spring, power, speed, defense, but they sent him back down to start the year in AA or AAA. And, man, it was just an interesting decision because that was kind of the move. Hey, do we keep him up? Do we find a way to play him every day? Or do we send him back down? And that was answered here just a few hours ago as of time of recording when they sent him back down to the minor leagues. The Detroit Tigers, who's going to be in the starting rotation? We got Matthew Boyd, Spencer Turnbull, Jose Urena looks to be a solid bet. Tariq Screwball, the number 4 prospect, has been solid this spring. Julio Teheran, he looks to be back. He's thrown some nice outings in spring training. He came over on a minor league deal, $3 million base salary he could pick up. You got Michael Fulmer, who's been struggling this spring, coming back from Tommy John surgery. Top prospect Casey Mize has struggled a little bit with his location. So there's going to be a lot of turnover when it comes to Detroit's rotation this year, both for opening day roster perspective as well as working towards the regular season and what's happening there. So that'll be something to keep an eye on. Tigers fans here moving forward, which way do they ultimately go? You got the Minnesota Twins. Who's going to start in left field? Is it going to be Alex Krylov? He's the number 2 prospect for the Twins. It looks like that his bat could be ready for the major leagues, but, again, is his defense where they need it to be? He's never played above AA, because last year, of course, they didn't have a minor league system. So, or are they going to go with Brent Rooker or Kyle Garlick? And Garlick came over from the Phillies organization. He's had 3 spring training home runs, and the guy can swing it. So ultimately, which direction are they going to go there in Minnesota when it comes to left field? For the White Sox, it's pretty much set what's going on here, but they got a guy named Andrew Vaughn who's making it a tough choice for them to see if he's going to be on that big league roster. He's the number 14 overall ranked prospect in baseball, and he looks good, man. He's got a big approach at the plate, very solid, hasn't played above the Double-A level, but I think he could help this team. So is Vaughn going to be on the roster? Is he going to be the designated hitter? That's the decision that they're going to have to make, or are they going to go with kind of a more stabilized vet to ultimately get Vaughn routine at-bats in the minor league level once again? Because not playing against Double-A and going right to the big leagues, a big jump. But Vaughn has looked good this spring, and he's making the decision tough on the guys there in Chicago. Out in the American League West, the Angels. Who's going to be their 4th outfielder? I mean, we know the starting 3 out there, but who's going to be that 4th guy? Is it going to be John Jay, Scott Schlaber, Juan Lagares? You know, what's going on there? It looks like Lagares is the favorite based on his strong spring so far. John Jay played for Joe Madden in a previous life there during Joe Madden's career. So it looks like Lagares or Jay are the 2 finalists for that outfield spot for the Angels here moving forward. In the Astros, starting rotation, that's a question for them. I mean, Framber Valdez, fractured left ring finger. You got Christian Javier missing some time here now that he's had to quarantine due to COVID-19 protocols. Jaco DeRizzi joined the team a little bit late, so is his arm strength where it needs to be for him to be ready to go from the jump here opening day? And, you know, who else is going to fill it out? Luis Garcia, Brandon Bilak. There's a couple of guys there in Houston that they're trying to figure out who's going to be that 4th or 5th starter for them. As, again, only 10 days away here. They got to figure things out sooner than later moving forward. For the Athletics, backup catcher. Who's going to back up Sean Murphy this year? Aramis Garcia. He came over with the trade with the Rangers earlier this month. Looks to be healthy. He's finally hitting a little bit. You got Austin Allen, who made the 2020 opening day roster due to his, health, and he's developed good rapport with the starting staff, as well as veteran Carlos Perez, who brings major league experience and certainly something they're looking for with a young pitching staff there in Oakland. So is it going to be Garcia, Allen, or Perez being the backup catcher there at Oakland, and which one of those guys is going to end up back down into the minor league system here moving forward? The Seattle Mariners, left field. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be the kid? Are they going to let him play? I mean, he's going to be here sooner than later, and it'll probably be a day after that time stamp where they maintain an extra year of control. The number 4 overall prospect in baseball, he recovered from an abductor strain, came back, kept hitting the crap out of the ball here, so he certainly looks ready. So is it going to be Kalenic starting the year out there, or do they, go with Taylor Trammell, the number 6 prospect in the club, or Jake Fraley, also in consideration? So Kalenic's going to be the guy long-term, but ultimately, who's it going to be until the time comes when they're able to call him up moving forward? And last for the American League, the Texas Rangers. Who's playing first base? They signed Nate Lowe this offseason. They were looking to put him at first base, but Ronald Guzman, he's made it a competition there with a nice swing and a hot bat down in spring training. Lowe continues to struggle. Guzman's hitting the ball well. So are they going to go with Lowe, which was the offseason plan, or has Guzman kind of thrown a wrench in that? And ultimately, which direction are they going to go for Texas as they start to figure things out here moving forward? And who's going to be with the squad long-term, again, as they transition to kind of that next wave of competitiveness down there in Texas. So what do you guys think? Who's going to win the position battles out there in the American League? Let me know in the comments section which one you guys are interested in. Is Kalenic going to start with the Mariners? Who's the Yankees' 5th starter? Let me know your thoughts. I'd love to hear from you guys. So that'll wrap things up for segment number 2 of the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Kevin Mahalik. We'll step aside here now for a word from one of our sponsors and one of our sister shows. But when we come back, let's talk about the National League. What roster decisions do we have to make in the NL? Stick around, everyone. Find out after this.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Thanks again for listening to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Kevin Mahalik. Man, Houston, comeback victory against Rutgers, and they advance to the Sweet 16. Kind of live recording here in the basement on a Sunday night. Got the hoop games on in the background, but of course we're talking baseball across the board. But Houston, 2 seed, they survive in advance against Rutgers. But Oral Roberts giving Florida a run here, that 15 seed, trying to get to the Sweet 16. They're down, it looks like 6 here, under 5 minutes left. That should be a good one. And then Villanova just starting to get underway. So how's your bracket doing so far out there? Are you guys completely busted? Did you have Ohio State versus Illinois in the Final Four like I did? And after round 2, you might as well crumble it up and throw it away. So it's just, that's why March Madness is fantastic. And I just love watching it because you never know what's going to happen here. And certainly it's a surprise every year when it goes down. But jumping back in, let me ask you guys before we get into segment number 3, please rate and review the podcast wherever you're listening to us. Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, YouTube, whatever it is out there. Hit like, hit subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, share us with your friends. I certainly appreciate it. As baseball opening day is about 10 days away here, depending on when you're listening to this. And man, it's coming in hot and heavy, so day in and day out, we're going to have some great content for you guys here moving forward. So like, rate, and review, hit subscribe, and that way when a new episode is released, it'll get pushed right to your device, and you'll be able to stay up to date with everything going on out there across Major League Baseball. So here we're talking about the National League, roster decisions, position battles being had here as we come down the stretch in spring training. Who's going to make the team? Who's going to win these battles? So each team's got themselves a question, some obviously more pressing than others, but still, it's fun to discuss with you guys ultimately who's going to win these jobs as we continue forward. So now we transition the National League East. What's going on here? We got the Atlanta Braves. Who's going to be the center fielder? They got Christian Pache, who's currently the center fielder. He was the top prospect for the Braves, number 12 overall. You talk to scouts around the league, and they think he's a future Gold Glove winner, but his offense leaves a lot to be desired. You know, he hasn't really shown that he's going to be able to hit on an everyday basis when it comes to the major leagues, but solid defense. So Ender Inciarte looks like a good insurance policy for them if Pache's not quite ready to ultimately play every day. So is it going to be Inciarte or is it going to be Pache, who they go with out in center field there for Atlanta? But if Pache's coming off the bench, that would give them some flexibility maybe Inciarte doesn't offer as kind of that role position player here moving forward. The Miami Marlins, where are we at with Miami? They're trying to figure out who's going to play second base. I mean, they got a bunch of vets down there throughout the lineup, but they're going to have some kids playing second base. You got Isan Diaz or Jazz Chisholm going at it. Diaz, a former highly regarded prospect, but has only played 56 games at the major league level. And then Chisholm is the team's number 4 rated prospect who made his debut in 2020. and only played 21 games. So 2 kids, not a lot of experience. Neither's really kind of run away with the job here when it comes to spring training. Don Mattingly's done a fantastic job giving them the opportunity, as he's pretty much been flip-flopping these 2 every other day in the starting lineup for spring training, trying to allow one of them to separate themselves and really win the position. But both guys, again, maybe some nerves down in spring, trying to make a job, trying to get a job for the first time. But one of these kids is going to get the opportunity. But I do have a feeling we're going to see both of them at some point throughout the 2021 season, as, again, nobody's really kind of run away with the opportunity thus far, which is why it's a position battle currently. For the New York Mets, we're talking number 5 starter, Carlos Carrasco. He's been sidelined. He's got hamstring issues that he's dealing with, so that means we got an open competition for some spots in the rotation there. David Peterson certainly looks to be set now in the rotation. Joel Lucchesi and Jordan Yamamoto are going to continue to compete for the starting job. Yamamoto's been the most successful when it comes to spring training. But again, they got a couple of weeks left, and they're looking at a bunch of different options when it comes to the rotation. So the injury bug hitting the Mets here early on, as again, they brought Carrasco over in the Lindor trade, and they thought he would lock down one of those spots, give them 200 innings, a veteran, solid presence that's been super successful, coming back from leukemia a few years ago. But Carrasco, sidelined with an injury, leaves a battle there for the Mets in their rotation. The Washington Nationals, what do we got going on here? We got some bullpen issues. Yes, they got some depth, so they could carry 9 relievers in Washington, depending on how they want to go with their bench guys offensively. Do they carry an extra reliever? But who's going to make the cut, right? I mean, Brad Hand, he could be the only lefty in the bullpen. If they want to go with another one, Sam Clay has been on the bubble and could make his major league debut. But again, are they going to put Hand as the closer role, or is it going to be closer by committee? Because they also have Will Harris and Daniel Hudson out there. Is Joe Ross going to be that 5th starter? And if he is, does that move Eric Feed to the bullpen, Austin Voth into the bullpen there? So they're trying to kind of stabilize ultimately which roles and which positions these bullpen guys are going to play. And then once they finalize that, it'll kind of allow the other dominoes to fall into place. But if Hand's the closer, you kind of need a lefty-lefty guy, which I think Sam Clay gets the opportunity and may push somebody out of a potential roster spot when it comes to the bullpen there in Washington. For the Philadelphia Phillies, wrapping up the National League East here, we got center field. And, what's going on in Philadelphia? So this is an interesting conversation, of course. We touched on it a little bit with the Yankees, but Odubel Herrera hasn't played in the big leagues for the last 2 years because he was arrested and accused of domestic violence. Again, the accuser dropped the charges and everything was figured out, but he violated that policy when it comes to Major League Baseball. But that policy also states that you can't cut a guy unless it is for baseball reasons if he served his penalty. So a lot of the fans here are split in Philadelphia in regards to giving Odubel a second chance. But, again, I'm not going to tell you how you should feel about Odubel Herrera. I'm not here to convince you to feel one way or the other. You're certainly entitled to your opinion about how you feel. But I'm able to, categorize in my mind that this is for entertainment purposes, right? I'm a fan of the Philadelphia Phillies. So who gives me the most joy, or who gives the Phillies the best opportunity to win, which will then bring me joy, right? Like, I don't root for humans based on whether or not he's a good human. You are here to entertain me, bring me joy. Again, just kind of value when it comes to entertainment. No, Odubel's been the best guy in spring training. Now, some people, he's a horrible human. I'll never root for him. I don't think he should get another opportunity. And again, you certainly can feel like that. I'm not trying to convince you otherwise. I'm just saying, me personally, the guy's, he's been hitting this spring, and he certainly looks like the best option. He's a former All-Star, so I think he's going to make the team out in center field. Adam Hazley got injured. Roman Quinn, he stinks. He can't even put the ball in play. Scott Kingery, who everybody thought would win the job, can't hit a fastball up in the zone to save his life. His swing is so messed up right now that he can't even make contact. I mean, the guy's striking out like almost 50% of his plate appearances when it comes to, he may start the year in the minor leagues. I know I'd like him off the bench, plays a ton of different positions, but by gosh, man, he just cannot catch up to those high fastballs that everybody's using. And then you got Mickey Moniak, former number 1 overall pick, who looks fantastic for the first time. I mean, he's been labeled a bust since he's been in the Phillies organization, but he's finally put on weight, finally seems comfortable in the box. People are saying, why not Mick? But I think another year in AAA or another 2 months to start the season down there would be good for him. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see him up at the major league level here sooner than later. So Odubel's the guy in center field for the Phillies right now, whether fans like it or not out there. Moving to the National League Central, we got Daniel Vogelbach back. What are they going to do with Vogelbach back? A designated hitter, that's going to come back in 2021, so they opted to re-sign him, but now there isn't a designated hitter, and it looks like what the heck are we going to do with him if you're the Brewers here? So he's a defensive liability at every position. There's really only one roster spot, and there's some other utility guys who certainly look to be better than Vogelbach. But again, if they cut him or send him to the minors, he'll probably be picked up by an American League team who has some opportunity for him. So look for that bench battle. You got Pablo Reyes, Jace Peterson, Billy McKinney, Derek Fisher, Tyrone Taylor, a couple of guys potentially looking to make that bottom half of that roster there in Milwaukee. For the Cardinals, Matt Carpenter. What's going on with Matt Carpenter? He's getting older. He's got a high salary. So do they keep him on the roster? Is he the starting second baseman? If he is at second base, that puts Tommy Edman out to the outfield. Tyler O'Neill, who's been raking this spring, does he make the team? Harrison Bader, Darren Carlson, is he an everyday outfielder? So what to do with Matt Carpenter is the decision there in St. Louis as they round out spring training. The Chicago Cubs, who's going to play second base? The two options are Nico Hoyener and David Bote. Dealing with some back issues. Here is Hoyener the last couple of weeks down in spring training, but he's had a nice camp before that. Started to flare up here, and he struggled at the big league level in the past, and he might need a bit more development in the minor leagues moving forward. If it's Bote, potentially Hoyener opens at the alternate site, starting in the minor leagues. You also got some bench guys who are out of options, as in Adermaro Vargas, left-handed veteran Eric Sogard. So it'll be kind of fascinating to see which way they go at second base and kind of the ripple effects it has across the roster here moving forward. Lastly, in the Central, we got the Pittsburgh Pirates. They got a lot of options, right? But kind of the most pressing is the center field position. Who's going to play center field? Is it going to be Anthony Affolde, Dustin Fowler, Brian Goodwin? There's a few more options that are deeper than that, but which one of those three is going to step up? Jared Olivia, one of their prospects they got, Brian Reynolds, O'Neal Cruz. They're also in the mix when it comes to the outfield, so I think you're going to see a ton of names get opportunities in Pittsburgh throughout the course of the regular season, and even if one of them wins the opening day job, they're not going to stick there for 6 months, in my opinion. So you're going to see a lot of these guys come and go if you're a Pittsburgh Pirates fan. The Cincinnati Reds, there was one more. I lied when I said the Pirates were the last ones. The Reds, the starting rotation. Who's going to be in the rotation? I mean, Sonny Gray doesn't look to be ready for opening day, which means there's a couple of spots the first 2 times through the rotation. Michael Lorenzen looks to be one of the guys who could potentially get that spot. You got TJ Antone, Jeff Hoffman, Jose De Leon. The team loves Antone and his stuff, but they think he could maybe be better suited as a relief guy, kind of that long relief guy in the middle. De Leon, he's been racking up strikeouts, but he's got some command issues. And Jeff Hoffman's out of minor league options, which once again kind of makes things more appealing, as they don't want to lose guys through that process of designating him for assignment moving forward. Now out to the National League West. As we wrap things up here in the National League, we got the Arizona Diamondbacks. Who's going to play right field? Cole Calhoun, he had to undergo knee surgery earlier this month, so now they got a hole out in right field. It looks like he's going to miss the start of the season, and they got a handful of guys who could potentially do it. Pavin Smith, Dalton Varsho, Trace Thompson, Josh Rojas, Josh Van Meter. Who's it going to be out there? So manager Tony LaVio said that it's going to go right down to the last day of spring training, and they're not going to announce anything anytime soon as to who's going to fill in for Calhoun. The Dodgers starting rotation. Who's at the back end? What are we going to do here? Clayton Kershaw, Walker Buehler, Trevor Bauer, David Price. Those guys are locks for the top 4. So who's going to be the 5th guy? Is it going to be Julio Urias, Tony Gonsolin, Dustin May? If they don't make the rotation, are they going to be into the bullpen? Are they going to be sent to the minors? Which direction are they going out there in L.A. when it comes to that number 5 starter and that bullpen piece behind them moving forward? The San Francisco Giants, they're trying to figure out their bullpen. Who's it going to be out there? I mean, they got Jake McGee, Matt Vizsla, Jose Alvarez, Yarlin Garcia. Tyler Rogers has been good. Reyes Montona, he's a bit of an unknown coming off of some shoulder surgery, but, he's been okay. He's lost a little velocity this spring, which could be a concern. And then you got a lot of non-roster invitees. Jay Jackson, Selvino Brancho, Dominic Leone, Wandy Peralta, a bunch of guys trying to make the squad. So who's going to stick around? Who's going to be sent to the minor leagues? Which way are they going out there in San Francisco? It'll be fascinating to see. For the San Diego Padres, what do they do with Dinelson Lamet? I mean, he's coming off an elbow injury that forced him to miss the 2020 postseason. He hasn't thrown yet this spring down there, so it doesn't look like he's going to make the opening day roster. So who's going to be filling in for him? Is it going to be Mackenzie Gore, the top overall pitching prospect in baseball, or Adrian Morjon, who feels like the favorite at the time? Because Gore and Ryan Weathers, may need a bit more seasoning down at the minor league level. So when's Lamet going to be ready? When's he going to be available? And who fills in until he is what they're trying to figure out there in San Diego. And then lastly here, the Colorado Rockies. Who's going to be on their bench? Who's going to be the pinch hitter off the bench? 4th outfielder, extra infielder. What's going on there? You got Jonathan Daza, non-roster invitee Connor Joe. Neither of those guys has really hit during their time in the big leagues, but a couple of them have showed flashes here in spring training. You got left-handed hitting Greg Bird, potentially an available option for them. So again, comes down to options. Daza's out of options, but Joe is not. So who are they going to keep on the roster and which direction do they go, as they got some decisions to make out in Colorado as well. But that wraps it up here for the National League. Who do you guys think is going to win some of these jobs? Who's your favorite squad out there? You guys probably have some inside information like I did in Philadelphia, but it'll be fascinating to see over the next 10 days which one of these guys ultimately make the teams. If they're designated for assignment, who picks them up? There could be a lot of roster transactions coming here over the next 2 weeks as teams finalize everything getting ready for opening day. But we'll step aside here one last time for a word from one of our sponsors and our sister shows within the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Kevin Mahalik, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little minor leagues. Who's set up for success in the future? Who is not? Let's discuss the rankings right after this.
Want to know the latest in soccer? Then listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. From MLS, the World Cup, and the Premier League, we've got you covered. The latest updates, the hottest matches, and news on the league's top players. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
David Beckham scores the goal to take England all the way to the World Cup finals.
Listen now.
Welcome into the fourth and final segment of the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. Oral Roberts, you got to be kidding me. They pull off another upset against Florida, take down an SEC team in the 15 seed, defeats Ohio State and Florida to advance to the Sweet 16. My goodness, Cinderella has reincarnated this year as in the form of Oral Roberts. Oh, man, that is just excellent. Fantastic for those kids. Enjoy it at the university. I mean, I remember during my time at Lehigh, it was the year after I graduated that Lehigh beat Duke in that 15-2 game. C.J. McCollum, who I used to eat lunch with a couple of times a week as we had overlaps in classes. He'd be coming from class. I'd be going to class. being a baseball guy, he was a basketball guy. We certainly knew each other as athletes. So CJ would join us for lunch and then put in crazy work against Duke, dropping 30 and sending them home. And now another 15 seed shows life. Oral Roberts to the Sweet 16. My goodness, March Madness is a ton of fun here. But let's continue to dive into some baseball chatter. Let's talk about minor league rankings. Recently, the updated rankings came out for 2021. And I found it fascinating just kind of running through and seeing where guys ranked, where teams ranked, and ultimately kind of looking at the future of some organizations and whether or not they look bleak or they're loaded at the top, so to speak, here. So I'm going to run through from number 30 to number 1, and wherever your team lands certainly goes to show kind of what things are looking like in the future. At number 30, the Washington Nationals. Actually, the last ranked minor league system. They got some pitchers at the top of their prospect list, their top 10. Not a lot of offense, actually. 8 out of 10 are arms when it comes to prospects. So infielders Carter Kieboom and Luis Garcia moving to the majors. It looks like that they don't have a lot of offensive guys coming up in Washington anytime soon. So it'll be fascinating to see kind of which direction they go over the next couple of years and look for them to draft some offensive guys coming down the stretch here moving forward. At number 29, the Colorado Rockies. And this is a tough one because obviously the Rockies are not very good at the big league level, and they don't have a lot of reinforcements coming up down here at the minor league level. I mean, outfielder Zach Feen is their number 1 overall prospect. He's only 19 years old. He's a top 100 prospect, but after that, there's not a ton going on here. So they need some pitching help in Colorado. They used, the pick on Zach Feen most recently, so if he lives up to his high ceiling, it could be a nice break for them. But this is where trouble begins, right? Because the Rockies struggling at the major league level and the 29th ranked minor league system, so it's not like, hey, the future looks great once these guys are able to get here in 1, 2, 3 years. They really don't have that top talent anywhere throughout the organization to kind of say, hey, reinforcements are coming. Hang tight. We're going to be good here in a second. At number 28, we got the Houston Astros. They're down from number 18, previously ranked here. So people are a bit low on the Houston. They got Forrest Whitley at the top of their prospect rankings when it comes to the top 100, but they have had guys graduate, quote-unquote, graduate from the rankings, and this is where Houston, you look at it, and some of their young pitching staff, right? Jose Urquidy, Christian Javier, and Yalde Paredes, they all graduated up to Houston. And so thus, their rankings have dipped from 18 to 29 or 28 here. But again, these kids have shown that they can have success at the big league level. So that's where they may not be in as bad of a shape as somebody like Colorado, where the kids don't look great and there's not a lot of reinforcements coming. So Houston, they graduated a lot of their talent, so now their rankings fall back down to the wayside. The Oakland Athletics at number 27. They got lefty A.J. Puck and then a couple of shortstops on the list, as well as catcher Tyler Soderstrom as a 19-year-old coming in. So they got quite a few teenagers that give them intriguing upside. I talked about Soderstrom. They got Brian Buevis and Robert Puazen, as well as some rookies here, or some teenagers, I should say, who could potentially show some promise over the coming years. The LA Angels come in at number 26. They got a couple of top 100 prospects. But again, they've come a long way from the worst in baseball just a few years ago. Now they've added some nice prospects. A couple of top picks look to be panning out for them, and they're starting to make their way up the rankings when it comes to the Angels. And the light at the end of the tunnel, they're getting better at the minor league level. Number 25, the Milwaukee Brewers come in. They've done a nice job developing talent from within. Brandon Woodruff, Corbin Burns, Devin Williams, all guys who came from inside the organization to have success at the big league level. Former UCLA standout Garrett Mitchell, he jumped to the top of the rankings here, and he looks to be the next pitcher on the list who could potentially make an impact for the Brewers. At number 24, the Philadelphia Phillies, and that is down from number 19. Philadelphia continues to struggle. Alec Baum has graduated up to the big league level, so that's why they dropped a little bit. Spencer Howard, who knows what we're going to get out of him. Adonis Medina is starting to get on the cusp here. Francisco Morales. And then Mick Abel, former number 1 round pick, or, number 7 overall, but number 1 pick for the Phillies at 19 is one of their top guys here. But he, again, looks to be 3, 4, 5 years away before he's able to contribute at the big league level. Number 23, the New York Yankees. Again, they've had a consensus top 3. Luis Gil, Austin Wells, both guys with high-end ceilings. Flamethrower Luis Medina. He looks to be solid down there, but the Yankees coming in at number 23, which, they spend a ton of money, so it's not a huge deal that they're a bit on the low side here moving forward. The LA Dodgers at number 22. They dropped down from number 12, so they were able to, move down the rankings there due to some people graduating, such as Gavin Lux, Broussard Gratterall. They were number 1 and 2 last year in this update. Now they're both at the big league level, so they're no longer on the list, which is why they kind of dropped. But again, those guys look fantastic. Luck struggled a little bit, but I see the potential in him to come in and do very well at the big league level. So no cause for concern if you're the Dodgers. The San Diego Padres, they're at number 21, which is kind of amazing based on all the trades they made this year and all the prospects they gave up. So they did fall from number 7 down to 21. But the fact that they're still at number 21 after trading multiple guys is just excellent for them. And Mackenzie Gore, the number 1 overall prospect in all of baseball, they were able to hang on to this offseason. But again, Luis Patino, Cole Wilcox, Ozzie Cassie, Blake Hunt, all these guys were involved for Snell or Darvish, and they were all top 10, top 15 prospects for them. So it's nice for them to be able to move that type of talent and still have the 21st ranked minor league system. The Cardinals at number 20 coming in. Dylan Carlson, he's still on the list here, so this could drop down after he's able to kind of establish himself as a big league star this year. If he is able to figure it out, they got Jordan Walker, Myson Wynn, both guys with high ceilings who could potentially contribute here in the next year or two if you're St. Louis. We got the New York Mets at number 19. The New York Mets, yes, they traded for Lindor, but they traded major league level guys, Rosario and Jimenez, which meant they didn't have to give up any of their elite minor league talent. So Cleveland went with major league level guys as opposed to some lottery picks here that could be like outfielder Isaiah Green, Josh Wolf, those guys moving up here for the Mets. Let's see. The Chicago Cubs come in at number 18. They were previously number 27. So adding the talent that they did in the Yu Darvish trade gave them upside here. So again, the Padres and Cubs, they exchanged guys, and now the Cubbies have a much better minor league system for it as, again, they're kind of going through a rebuild, a retool, trying to figure out who's it going to be that stays with the Cubs moving forward. The Boston Red Sox at number 17. They are up from number 25. First baseman Bobby Dalbec and right-hander Tanner Houck both had success at major leagues levels, but they're still on the list due to their eligibility. So they had a couple of trades as well as some steady development, which has allowed them to continue to climb up the rankings as they're up to 17. The Chicago White Sox at number 16. This one is more top-heavy when it comes to what's going on. After their top 5 prospects, which are all top 150 prospects, there is a bit of a drop-off there. But Nick Madrigal coming up, Michael Kopech looking to stay healthy. It'll be interesting to see Chicago moving forward. The Kansas City Royals at number 15. They got some good talent at the top here. They got 5 guys in the top 150. Brady Singer, it could potentially make the rotation this year moving forward. Bobby Witt Jr. we talked about. He was sent down, but he's going to be up in the show here sooner than later. So they're pretty well set there in Kansas City. The Cincinnati Reds at number 14. They got 6 guys in the top 150. Hunter Green, recovering from Tommy John surgery, lost 2020, didn't really affect his development. Tyler Stevenson, Jose Garcia, they both got a taste of the big league level, but would benefit from more time in the minor leagues. So Cincinnati, pretty well set up here when it comes to their depth at number 14. Number 13, you got the Texas Rangers, previously ranked 24. So they were able to, retool their they're stable with the Lance Lynn trade, adding people there. Catcher Sam Huff, center fielder Leota Tavares. Those guys look to be climbing the rankings, and Texas set up with a nice minor league system now at number 13. Number 12, the Baltimore Orioles. They got 5 top 100 prospects. Ryan Mountcastle ranked 5th. It came up to success last year in 35 games. Keegan Akin came up and had some success on the mound as well. Gunnar Henderson, Jordan Westberg, both could potentially be long-term fills at third base there. So a nice setup for Baltimore as they transition into that next wave. Number 11, the Pittsburgh Pirates. They were previously 16. They got 6 guys in the top 150. Cabrian Hayes looks fantastic. He's still on the list. That makes him a favorite for Rookie of the Year, as we spoke about. They got big, tall righty Tyjon Thomas, who could be a quick riser and get to the show here this year as well. So things look a little brighter in Pittsburgh than they did maybe a year or two ago. Number 10, the Arizona Diamondbacks. They got 6 guys in the top 150. It'll be interesting to see, right? Christian Robinson looks to be a future middle-of-the-order guy. Alec Thomas has speed and a hit tool in center. Corbin Carroll's been fantastic. So they are very well set out there in Arizona. Number 9, you got the Cleveland Indians. Of course, they made a lot of trades. They traded Lindor, traded Carrasco, but got some nice guys back as they have 6 guys in the top 150. The future, they got low-level prospects right now, but again, high ceilings. They look to be fantastic moving forward. Number 8, you got the Minnesota Twins. Oh, man, 6 guys in the top 150 and very high at the top. Alex Kreloff, Ryan Jeffers have a chance to make the team this year. Top prospect, Royce Lewis. He's battled through some injuries, but he's high on the list here as Minnesota's set for success. Number 7, the Detroit Tigers. Again, they got 6 guys in the top 150. Spencer Torkelson, Casey Mize, Matt Manning, Riley Green. All these guys could see time here in 2021. But Torkelson and Green, they look to be very solid and could be nice in the middle of that lineup offensively as they transition away from Miguel Cabrera and kind of into that next stage. The San Francisco Giants come in at number 6, up from 14 a year ago. They got 7 guys in the top 150. So they were in the bottom of the rankings a couple of years ago, but continue to climb. Joey Bart behind the dish there, catcher. He looks fantastic. Eloy Ramos should be the next guy to arrive potentially in center field at the big league level. So it looks good out there in San Francisco. But now you get to the scary guys, right? You get to number 5, the Atlanta Braves. And the Braves are loaded at the big league level, and they got 7 100 and top 50 prospects. Now, a few of them you'll know, Ian Anderson, Christian Pache. They are still on the list due to eligibility, but they got a lot of young talent in Atlanta and more potentially coming as a top 5 farm system. Man, I mean, if Anderson and Pache drop off the list, maybe they get back into the teens, but guys like Drew Waters and Kyle Mueller, they look to keep it high on the list. The Seattle Mariners at number 4, previously number 2. They got 7 prospects in the top 150. Of course, we know the outfield trio of Kelenic, Rodriguez, and Trammell. That's going to be everybody out there every day. Oh, man, it is going to be fun to watch those 3 guys in the outfield in Seattle over the next 3, 4, 5 years as they all graduate to the bigs. The Toronto Blue Jays come in at number 3. Nate Pearson on the list, Austin Martin, Jordan Groshans. I mean, oh, man, 7 top 150 guys. And Pearson trying to figure things out. He struggled a bit last year, but should be good. Alejandro Kirk, 9 for 24 last year in his debut. We said, is he going to be at the big league level this year? So Toronto, solid big league club as well as an excellent farm system. Number 2, the Miami Marlins. They got 8 top 150 guys. Sixto Sanchez at the top of the list. He made his debut last year. We talked about Jazz Chisholm. Is he going to play second base for him? A couple of outfielders, Jesus Sanchez, J.J. Bleday. I mean, they're doing an excellent job down there in Miami with young talent. The rotation's loaded, and they got some reinforcements offensively coming for the Marlins here in the future. And then number 1, the Tampa Bay Rays. They stay number 1. After being number 1 a year ago, they have 10 top 100 talents, according to Major League Baseball. I mean, Randy Arozarena, Brendan McKay, Wander Franco at the shortstop position. He's only 19. He's fantastic. But right down the list, it is just excellent. Luis Pastino, Blake Hunt, They got those guys in the Blake Snell trade as they reloaded. Everybody knows what a Rosareno did. Shane McClanahan, he made his debut last year. So they are loaded down there in Tampa Bay, and it's going to be fun to watch for years to come if you're a Rays fan. But that'll wrap it up for today's episode. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I know I had a lot of fun talking to you guys here today. March Madness on in the background. A couple of upsets again. Oh, man, it is just an excellent time of year with opening day only 10 days away. So I'll ask you one last time here before we head out. Please like, rate, and review the podcast. Click subscribe, share us with one of your friends, send a text to somebody, let them know what's going on out there as opening day is right around the corner, and we're bringing you guys quality content here on a daily basis. But I'm your host, Kevin Mihalik, as always. That does it for today's episode. Enjoy your week out there, everybody, and I'll talk to you guys again on Thursday.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.